Welcome back to part 3 of servicing that big 400-gallon Bowfront Aquarium. We're here on our off week, and what I mean by that is there's 2 tanks here that I service. This one here upstairs in the homeowner's bathroom, and the big 400-gallon downstairs. We've just finished servicing this tank upstairs. We've gone through and wiped the interior free of algae. We vacuumed the gravel. We performed a 10-gallon water change, and we replaced those coral decorations in the tank. We've now cleaned up the outside of it. It's time to go down and take a look at our big tank downstairs. So come on, let's get to work. And here's our big Bowfront Aquarium. You can see the algae that's grown in the tank just in the last week. That's the results of the diatom bloom, and may in fact be partially due to the fact that I use tap water, but again, the diatom bloom is slowly beginning to wither away. What we're going to do here today is a large 100-gallon water change, namely because I want to try to get as much of that sediment out of the sand as possible. Also, I'm hoping that the new 100 gallons of water will finally put a halt to the tail end of that diatom bloom. I'm also here on an off week, and what I mean by that is I just finished servicing the tank upstairs, which is normally all I would do today, and then I would come back next Monday to service this tank. But I wanted to take advantage of the fact that I'm A, here, and B, I can kind of get a step ahead of the game by doing the water change this week, and if things work out, I could actually begin to start bringing more fish coming next week. Unfortunately, I think I run into one little problem, and that happens to be with some of the equipment, more specifically the refrigeration unit. You can see that it's running pretty warm today, and I'm not exactly sure if that's because I don't have adequate openings at both ends of the tank, although the tank's been running for the last 3 months and was comfortably running at 78, 79 degrees. I fear that there may actually be an issue with the chiller, and we may have to get it fixed or replaced. And I fear that mainly because I left these cabinet doors open while I serviced the tank upstairs, thinking that if it was a ventilation issue, there should have been at least some sort of sign of a temperature drop. There wasn't. So I fear that there's a problem with the refrigeration unit. Here's our algae scrubber, which is working rather well today. You can see that in the course of a week it's grown a little bit of algae, but then again, keep in mind there's no real nutrients in the system other than what it came with. We've had about an inch worth of evaporation once again, so I've got a 5-gallon jug of reverse osmosis water out there that we can bring in. So with that said, I don't think I'll be able to bring fish next week, at least until I get the temperature situation resolved, but I can go ahead and do the big water change today, which again will put me a step ahead of the game. So we'll go ahead and start off by cleaning the inside of the front panel of acrylic.
I have an array of cleaning tools to work with, ranging from hand pads to pads on a handle and my aquarium cleaning magnets. For the moment, I'm hesitant to use the cleaning magnets, as the algae doesn't warrant its use at this time, and the potential scratching that could occur as a result of the magnets. So for now, my cleaning pad on a long handle is enough to easily wipe away the brown diatom algae growth.
So I mentioned this is my off week. What I mean by that is I only do this tank every other week. The opposing week, I do the tank upstairs. So essentially, between the 2 tanks, I created a weekly service. 1 week, service the tank upstairs. The other week, I service this big tank downstairs. It would have been much more appropriate to have waited till next week and done the water change here, namely because I'll have all the coral decorations out of the tank. I'd have 100% access to the gravel bed. But due to scheduling issues, I need to do the water change this week. And so we'll kind of work around those corals. Actually, what I think I'm going to do is go through and move the ones that are on the gravel towards the back, giving me greater access to the gravel bed. So we're now ready to start doing the vacuuming and the water change. I have 3 things that I need to do first. One, I have to shut off the main filter water pump, because as I siphon water out of the tank, eventually it's going to draw that water out of the reservoir below, causing the pump to run dry. So I'll need to turn that off to protect it. Number 2, I have to determine how much water to take out of the tank. Now, I know it's going to be 100 gallons that I'm going to take out, but how much is 100 gallons? Well, I could take it out 5-gallon bucket at a time. That would be 25-gallon buckets and 20 individual trips to pour it into the toilet or someplace. Or I could try to be smart and I could estimate based on a calculation as to how much water should be taken out, or at least how far down I would drop the water level. And to figure that out, we need to multiply length, which is 96 inches, width, which at the maximum is 42 inches, and then we have to come up with a depth, or how much water or how far down we want to go. Well, if you take length times width times height divided by 231, that'll come up with the volume of water that those dimensions would equal. In this case, 96 by 42 by 6 inches down is just about 100 gallons. That's what I'm going to run with. The other thing that I need to do is figure out where I'm going to put this water, or where I'm going to run it to. I don't have as much of a luxury as I do with that big fancy cylinder tank where I've got a significant decline, but I do have a decline, and the top of this tank is pretty far up above the ground. So what I'm going to do is run a garden hose out to the floor drain in the patio, and I brought along my PVC pipe vacuum that I use on the fancy cylinder tank. There's another piece that snaps onto the end of this, but I'm just going to use this one piece for today to do this tank. And so with the water pump unplugged, my tape mark at 6 inches down, and my hose running out to the patio, I'm going to go ahead and start a siphon that in turn will suck water from the tank, thus allowing me to draw out 100 gallons. And as I do that, it'll also allow me to draw a bunch of the sediment or sand that's down inside the gravel.
So it all sounds quite clever and thought out, but I still have to get the siphon started, and that's only going to occur one way. My intent with this big water change is to halt the diatom bloom that's occurring by decreasing the available nutrients within the water, most likely silicates. And this also allows me the chance to vacuum the fine particles from the gravel that may not have been flushed out when we originally washed the gravel before pouring it into the tank. And my expectation with the big water change is to halt the diatom bloom that's occurring, and with the natural seawater introducing elements such as bacterias that will create a more dynamic biological system. And ultimately, my goal is to create an environment that is appropriate and ready for the introduction of fish. Many new fish.
So we've finished vacuuming the gravel in the tank. We've just about pulled out that 100 gallons, just a hair bit more, and then we'll be ready to pump in 100 gallons of real ocean water back into the tank.
Would you like to reduce your nitrate and phosphate as well as algae problems? Consider the Turbos Aquatics LED algae scrubber line, which consists of the L2, L3, and L4 models. All units include dual drain system, slotted pipe, growth screen, bulkheads, and dual high-quality growth spectrum optimized LED lights and heat sinks. The L-Series algae scrubbers are easily installed and externally mounted either above the aquarium or placed over your existing filter system. Control aquarium nutrients naturally using algae. For more information, visit turbosaquatics.com.
Hi there, my name's Jim Stime and you know me as the LA Fish Guy. Well, I also wear a couple of other hats. One of them is the jellyfish tank called the Jelly Aquarium, and the third is myfishtank.com. I offer an entire line of acrylic aquariums ranging from rectangular to hexagon, flatback hex, as well as the custom curve front aquariums. There's also an entire line of stands and canopies ranging from MDF to pine to oak with a variety of different finishes available. And the website is even smart enough that you can calculate what the freight and crate charges to your location will be. That's myfishtank.com.
Have you made your plans yet to attend the Marine Aquarium Expo this coming April 6th and 7th of 2013? This is the largest aquarium consumer trade show in North America and a destination spot for marine hobbyists and coral frag enthusiasts. Held at the Orange County Fair and Event Center and featuring over 70 exhibitors, speakers, demonstrations, and a huge opportunity drawing. There's even a fin zone for entertaining young hobbyists. That's the Marine Aquarium Expo at the Orange County Fairgrounds this coming April 6th and 7th, Saturday 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Sunday 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Adults $15, senior and military only $10, and kids under 12 are free. For more information, visit marineaquariumexpo.com.
Come join us at the Marine Aquarium Expo. See you soon.
Okay, with the 100 gallons of dirty water out of the tank, we can now begin to pump in the new clean 100 gallons of real ocean water. I brought this in a 100-gallon container and have it out in the van with a 100-foot hose, and we're pumping that out of the tank. And so that'll take just a little bit to empty that or to fill up the tank. So let's go fix something else or look at that chiller on the system. And our chiller is currently not running, mainly because we've got the water pump that drives it shut off, but you can see it's down to 74. Now that's a temperature that's being sensed with inside the chiller. I can also feel that the cabinet is considerably cooler, so it may be that the heat is not exiting the stand well enough, and that being the case, we may end up putting a exhaust fan or a computer fan or something like that there just to help pull, or should I say push, the hot air out of the cabinet and draw in cool air at the opposing end. Our water levels beginning to rise, so we'll go ahead and do a little bit of cleanup as the tank fills up. While we're waiting for the tank to fill up, let's go ahead and clean the algae scrubber. Okay, so what we'll need to do is cut these screens off. And I don't have a good scraper yet, so we're going to use something temporary, such as this container here. You can see there we've cleaned quite a bit of it off. I can now effectively rinse a lot more of that off.
And if this is your first exposure to an algae scrubber, what essentially we've done is grown algae on a screen that have consumed the nutrients, proteins, and enzymes from the aquarium water. By scraping away the algae, we're scraping away the nutrients that have been locked up in those algae, and now have officially been exported out of the system.
And as you can see, that's back running. The water is draining across the screen. The lamps are illuminating the screen. And essentially the scrubber is going to grow algae in here that will basically compete for the nutrients of the algae in the tank. And as the water level rises, we prepare to turn the water pump back on.
And with the system started back up and running properly, we can remove the supply hose from the tank.
And now that we've pumped in 100 gallons of real ocean water versus the estimated 100 gallons that we took out, we find we're only a couple of inches or 10-15 gallons off. So I'll go ahead and siphon this manually into a 5-gallon bucket out of the tank and bring the water level down to the maximum running spot. And with 10 gallons of water siphoned out of the tank, you can see the water level is just a hair under our maximum running water level spot. So my estimate of 100 gallons was pretty darn close. The other issue I need to deal with is the refrigeration unit. Since the filter pump is now plugged back in, the system's up and running and water's passing through the chiller. You can see it says 81 degrees. Now, the questions are, was the previous 83 degrees the result of the chiller not effectively working? It was at 78 last week and the week before, so 81 and 83 are a little unusual. There was a lot of heat in the cabinet. Was that making the chiller's ability to cool the water more difficult? It's possible. We've had the chiller turned off for the last hour or so. You saw earlier it was down to 74 with it not running, or at least with not water going through it. The cabinet doors were opened, all that heat inside the cabinets dissipated. It's possible that that heat could be affecting the chiller's performance. I think what I'll end up doing is putting a exhaust fan back here, which will help move some of that hot air out of the cabinet, but it'll also pull cool air in from the opposing end of the cabinet. If that doesn't solve the problem, then I'm going to have to pull the chiller out and either replace it, have it repaired, or somehow determine what its issue is. I have two more things that I want to do. One is to go through and wipe the front of the acrylic tank once again, because as that water level rose up, it left little marks there from the dust at the water surface. The other thing I want to do is clean the outside of the aquarium with the aquarium cleaner.
While I would like to have replaced the corals with a clean set, as well as perform the big water change, this week, with the homeowners away on vacation, actually worked out better timing-wise. And next week, I can replace the decorations, and the homeowners can be home to enjoy them.
And that's how we service the 400-gallon Bowfront Aquarium. Thanks for tagging along. Hopefully you learned something, and make sure to come on back next time as we begin to add butterflies, dwarf angels, large angels, a number of triggerfish, and that golden eel. Until then, keep moving forward.